Welcome to Weight Loss and Wellness for Real, the podcast where people like you get the practical solutions and support you need to permanently lose the physical and mental weight so you can feel better and live the life you want in the body and mind you want. If you're looking to overcome your stress eating, overeating, binging behaviors, and move to a place of freedom with food and your body, you're in the right place. Just a reminder that this podcast represents my own opinions. The content here should not be taken as medical advice. The content here is for educational and informational purposes only. Please consult your doctor or healthcare professional for any individual medical questions you may have. Hello, friends, and welcome. I'm glad you are here. We're going to get into some discussion on negative core beliefs and what they are, how these core beliefs really affect our thoughts, which then create our feelings, which then drive our behavior, and why it's so important, I believe, to figure out what your negative core belief might be in order to be able to move through it, to start to change those automatic thoughts that pop up in your brain, to create new, more helpful feelings that will drive more helpful behaviors for you. And if you're on a weight loss journey or trying to optimize health, change habits, change behaviors, or trying to get really, you have a goal in life that you want to get to, or you really want to be living your daily life in a different way with different habits, different thoughts, different feelings, then this really is the episode that you want to keep listening to. I will give some ideas towards the end on how to start this work, how to move through this work. So keep listening for that. Before we get into it, just a reminder that you can head over to my website at heatherheynen.com, and Heynen is spelled Heynen. From there, you can, I hope you would, sign up for my free monthly newsletter. Only comes once a month. It's on all things well-being, so topics are different every single month. It's usually just something I'm thinking on or working on myself. I offer lots of practical strategies to just really improve all areas of well-being in your life. I usually include a recipe. I usually include a journal prompt if you're into that. And then always links to companies that will give you discounts. Okay, so I talk a lot in this podcast and all these episodes about, and with my clients, they probably get sick of me using these words all the time, but I talk a lot about habit thoughts or patterns of thoughts. So I wanted to take a deeper dive into exactly what these things are, so our negative core beliefs and how these beliefs become then habits of thought that influence our feelings and behaviors. So again, if you're trying to lose weight, optimize your health, change something in your life, but you find that you just cannot follow through on the behaviors, on the actions you need to follow through on to make these changes happen, then it's really important and powerful to figure out your negative core beliefs so you can use strategies to start to shift those negative core beliefs so you can start to think in new, fresh ways, more helpful, more useful ways that create new feelings that then drive the new behaviors you want to be implementing to make the changes. So, for example, sustained weight loss, healthy bodies, or just creating a daily life you really want to be living with more creativity and joy. It could be any goal you are trying to achieve in life or a way that you want to be living or thinking or feeling more of in your life. So this is really important work in my belief system, and obviously mental health therapist here for years and years and years, so I might be a little biased, but I really do believe these core negative belief systems are really at that deeper end, the core level of where we want to make changes so that we can have that trickle-down effect of all changes in our life, how we think, how we feel, and our actions on a day-to-day basis. I wanted to tell you about a company I recently used and that you may be interested in using as well. It is called 5 Strands, 5 the number, and then STRANDS, 5 Strands, and it is a test to learn about food intolerances, environmental intolerances, and it can give you lots of really good information on how your body is currently responding to your diet. So it can identify food or environmental intolerances, and then you can kind of temporarily remove these things from your diet and make lifestyle decisions around that in order to reduce inflammation, to feel a bit better. This isn't about allergy testing. This isn't the same if you were to go get allergy testing through blood. This is simply about a different process they use that help to identify not allergies, but simple intolerances to foods that you currently may be eating and things in your environment. And then once you have that knowledge, the idea is you can go into an elimination diet and take all those things out at once. Versus if any of you have done an elimination diet before, when you're trying to figure out what's working for you, what's not, it may be something like you take out all dairy, you have to wait 4 weeks to see how you respond, then you take out another thing, so it's just this really long process of trying to figure those things out. This is just a really quick, simple, easy way to get that information and eliminate all those things at once. And then the idea is you do slowly add them back in once your body, the inflammation has calmed down, your body's ready to respond to them again. So this isn't about eliminating these foods forever and always. It's simply about taking them out for a time period to really optimize your health, maybe even lose some weight, and then slowly adding them back in. And the test is so easy because you just send in some strands of hair, hence the name of the company, 5 Strands. You just send in some hair, you get results back within 5 to 7 days. The other reason I, when asked, agreed to work with this company was because their customer service was so amazing. Any questions you have, anything like that, they are just friendly, very knowledgeable. I just really, really appreciated this to me was like old school customer service. So they're a great company. And this sort of testing can just give you that idea of, okay, these are the things I'm going to try to cut out, and we'll see, trying to optimize feeling good, all that sort of stuff. And my own personal thing with this is I was noticing that I was having just some cues and feedback going on from my body with some regular things I had been eating where I had never had those negative cues and feedback before. And so I knew something was going on, and that's why I got into taking this test. And what was really interesting is some things came back that I knew would come back. Like I've always known dairy. I do not do well with dairy. I know I don't do well with eggs, things like that. But I really found some of the results fascinating. Like there were certain proteins that I was used to eating every single day that I'm highly, right now, currently in my lifestyle, intolerant to, and other proteins that were just fine. So that helped me adjust to what I'm eating right now. Another thing that was really interesting is I always thought I was really intolerant to red wine, but was fine with all clear alcohol like vodka, all that kind of stuff. And actually, according to this, all clear alcohol is not good, but I am totally cool with red wine. So things like that were really, really fascinating to me, and also just helped me create sort of this elimination diet plan for about 6 weeks that I'll be doing, and just gave me all the information in one shot. So I highly, highly recommend them if you are looking to optimize your health. It's a quick and easy test to just get more information. I really do hope you give it a try. I just believe more knowledge about our bodies and how they are working is such a key in gaining that optimal health. So if you want to give them a try, you can head over to 5strands.com. Again, it's the number 5 and then STRANDS.com. And when you go to check out, put in my name, Heather Heinen, HEYNEN, and you're going to get a nice discount. Because our programming, if you will, usually happens as children, so our programming often usually comes from whether it's loud or silent messages we receive, typically from parental figures, authority figures, but also through social influence. All these messages from sources like these get sort of pre-programmed. So think of it sort of like a software program our brain gets downloaded with when we're kids. Think of it, that when we're children, our brain is not fully developed and so does not have the capability yet to discern if the information we are taking in from these authority figures, from these parental figures, is helpful or useful for us. We just don't have that brain capacity to discern if that information is actually helpful or useful. So as children, our brains really are in survival mode. We're meant to feel, as children, we're meant to feel safe and secure through our parental figures in their words, in how they behave, through our caretakers. But often this doesn't happen, even if you had really healthy parents, right? So, and if you are a parent right now and, you're like pretty much doing an okay job, that sort of thing, we still really, really screw up as parents. So this doesn't apply to just traumatic childhood or traumatic, things through parents and caretakers. This really applies. Most of us at some point in childhood get pre-programmed with something that's not super helpful. Okay, so we get programmed, in quotation marks, to the repeated messages that we have heard or watched or learned. So it might be things like, I can never do anything right in my caregiver's eyes, so obviously I'll never succeed at anything. Or obviously I'm not good enough because one of my caretakers left and they're not in contact with me. Or, these sort of thoughts bring feelings of defeat, low confidence, and then the behavior that follows, because remember, our feelings drive our behavior. So the behavior that follows because of those feelings is often something like not engaging in anything, scared to take risks because I'll fail anyway, right? That's the thought. Or maybe, we try something, but it doesn't go perfectly, so we give up. And so this can lead to that perfectionistic thinking, but also a lot of procrastination and giving up when things don't go perfect. And that's just one small example. But the core habit, thought pattern at the deepest level, at the core level of what I would call a human soul, are often the theme around I'm not good enough, or I am worthless, or I'm not worth anything in this world, or I don't deserve it, or I'm inadequate, or I'm a failure. These are called negative core beliefs. And often most people who are struggling with maybe, the mental, emotional side of things are often, relationships, that sort of thing, are often carrying around these very deep-seated core beliefs. And then these negative core beliefs then influence what our brain thinks most of the time, right? The brain runs this habit of thought or pattern of thoughts because it's been programmed. I keep using that word. Little side note here. I keep using the word programmed. I do understand the brain doesn't exactly work like that, but for our purposes here, the metaphor can work. So let's just kind of stick with it. It's sort of like this computer getting programmed, right? My brother's a software creator, and so he would argue, our brain is so much more than a computer. And of course, I agree. But again, an easy metaphor, so I'm going to use it. So until we take some control and update our own software as adults. So until we take some control and update our software as adult, those negative core belief habit of thoughts will continue to be what runs in our mind. And this is never going to create new feelings that we really need in order to drive the new behaviors we actually want to be doing. how we actually want to be behaving throughout our day. So examples again would be, the overeating, the over drinking, but it could be anything. It could be, you really have the strong desire, to paint or to create something, and you just never get going with getting the supplies to do it and making it happen. We're talking about things beyond just the overeating behaviors and the over drinking behaviors, or maybe it's that you really desire to have a healthy relationship in your life. And yet, you can't take those steps to start dating. And there's all that fear there due to core beliefs, all those things. So this permeates, our core beliefs permeate every aspect of our lives. Okay, so these habit patterns of thoughts that pop up from the core belief, they can be loud, right? We can, maybe if we're paying attention to our thoughts, we can catch them, we can hear them, but most often, they are really subtle. And this is the difficult part, that these thoughts that are low key, they're under the radar, often hard to hear, soft, subtle, it can be really tough to really get clarity around these thoughts that are repeating always in the background of our mind throughout the day. So it takes a little work to uncover our negative core beliefs, to then be able to really hear and tune into those negative thoughts that are popping up from that core belief. So here's an example. I have one habit thought that pops up for me all the time. This has been, most of my life, I would say. And the thought is, it's just so hard for you. That's mine. So it's just so hard for you. My brain says it like it's the truth. And this thought definitely stems for me from the core belief of I'm not enough, right? I'm not enough. I'm not good enough for this. And this why it is so hard for you. It's, easy for everyone else. It's so hard for you. And by the way, this also can lead to perfectionism. And I've shared this before, a need to achieve to a point of impossibility and of creating a lot of anxiety. And this core belief can also lead to the other side of the same coin, depressive type symptoms like checking out, feeling overwhelmed all the time, never really accomplishing anything because I can't do it right anyway. So we can have these negative core beliefs that then create these negative habit thoughts in our brain that play over and over like a broken record in the background of our mind throughout the day, producing feelings throughout the day. Most of us don't actually want to be feeling like defeat, like unwillingness, which then lead us down a road of behaviors we don't really want to be doing at our deepest authentic level of being. So I'm feeling defeated, I'm feeling unwilling. Now all of a sudden, I'm overeating. I'm like, screw the guidelines around, me trying to drop some weight. Or it could be even things like, reacting in anger to a loved one, right? Because we've been feeling defeat and unwilling, and I just don't have the energy to try to take a break. And instead, I just want to offload all these hard feelings onto my loved one by reacting because, she didn't put the dishes away right, or whatever the thing is. So if you have negative thoughts about yourself repeating over and over during the day, think about those feelings that you will most likely feel throughout the entire day. And if, like I said, you're feeling mostly defeated, beaten down, overwhelmed, weak, crushed, then I can guarantee if you deal with emotional eating or drinking, you will overeat and overdrink to silence the thoughts and not feel those feelings for a moment in time. Of course we will, right? We really need that relief after thinking all those horrible thoughts and having those emotions, those really hard, energetic emotions running through our body all day long. We need relief. And that temporary fix of food or alcohol, or maybe it's shopping, or like I said, offloading your anger, name the vice. You're going to go there. Now, we can practice new behaviors and new habits to help with this, but we also want to get to the deeper core of things, the base of things, the foundation of things. So we can work there so we can change for good, right? We want that lasting change. We don't want to go for, 2 days, 2 weeks, maybe a month, maybe a few months of, behaving in these ways we really want to behave in. And then all of a sudden it gets too hard, or some stress in life, major crisis comes up, and we are back to all the old habits. We want change for good. We want it to be sustainable. And we can find that healthy, peaceful relief when the relationship with ourselves, with food, with others, with life is in a more healthy and useful space. Okay, so where do you start? And this really is, I know this is my trade, my work, my occupation. So yes, I'm biased, but I am just going to say, if you have a good therapist, maybe even a really good life coach, often partnering with some other human to get help on identifying those negative core thoughts, belief patterns can be helpful. And here's why. Because, my saying that I love, if you're in the jar, it's really hard to read the label, right? But if someone someone who's trained in this, who's outside the jar and can help you, partner with you to figure out, what that label says, what is on the outside, can help you take the lid off so you can climb out as well. And, start to become that observer of yourself, of your thoughts, of your mind, to really help get you in that space of identifying those negative core thought belief patterns. So partnering with someone who's outside the jar can be really, really helpful. But if you're someone who kind of understands that concept of stepping outside yourself to observe yourself and can do it in somewhat of a non-bias or judgmental way, and often if you are a journaler, you might be kind of trained in this anyway. It's kind of how your mind works. That's why journaling can help so much, because it helps us step outside ourselves. It helps us take the lid off the jar, crawl out the jar to read the label. So, if that's you can also do a little investigating yourself. And again, I would say that could be done through journaling. And so this process of figuring out the negative core beliefs, and then really working on thinking patterns and shifting them and shifting that negative core belief. There really is a term for it in therapy. It's called cognitive restructuring. And so that is the term for this method or process. And this is where, as a therapist, I partner with clients to examine their negative thoughts in response to particular situations and events in their everyday lives, as well as what negative thinking patterns or habits are there. And then we can move into what might be the negative core beliefs that are really rooted often in their past, although not always, because sometimes, you may have not had any of these negative core beliefs through childhood. Everything was good, really, you felt good enough, you were enough, all these things. But what can then happen into adulthood, often what I will see is, a very unhealthy relationship with a significant other, and there might be some emotional abuse or verbal abuse or, even physical abuse. And so then this will start a pattern of that negative core belief or those negative thoughts. So it's not always rooted in our past, but often it can be. So these longstanding negative views can be about ourselves and or other people in the world, in the present, right? Like right now, because we often project our negative core beliefs onto others in our lives, the people that we are closest to. We often project our own negative core beliefs onto. And by the way, this can be and often is a projection of your own negative core beliefs on the people closest to you that you really adore and love, and could be on those closest to you that you are strained or distant in relationship with, but still in a way close because of your historical relationship with them, right? So one way to start to get a glimpse at your own core belief is to think about what frustrates you about the people closest to you. Are you frustrated or mad that your spouse doesn't express their love for you every moment? Are you seeking validation from an outside source that you are enough, right? So you're always looking for attention, or you're looking for that validation. You really need other people to be telling you good job, or, that sort of thing. Then it is possible that the core fear, core belief you carry could be, I'm not enough, right? Do you get frustrated that your child doesn't respect you enough, or doesn't do exactly what you want him or her to do in exactly the way you told them to do it? Do you hold super high expectations for those around you? And when those people don't meet those expectations, do you become frustrated and angry with them? This is a possible clue to your own negative thought patterns and programming that you have to be perfect, right? So if you have that core belief, like I have to be perfect, that stems into that core fear of I'm not enough. And so then we often will project it onto those closest to us, like you also have to be perfect. You need to meet my expectations. And if you don't, then that must mean you don't respect me or you don't love me. So you can hold these impossible high expectations of yourself, and you project the same onto those closest to you. So a clue to what exactly are my negative thinking habits can be looking at what are the thoughts that go on in your head about those closest to you when you are feeling frustrated or angry with them. Often, many of us notice our feelings first. So if you are frustrated or angry with those you love, take a look. What am I thinking right now about my loved one that is making me feel frustrated or angry? Some common negative core beliefs about others can be things like people will always hurt me. People are malicious. People cannot be trusted. The world is dangerous. The world is unfair. The world is scary. The one thing about core beliefs you may have just noticed as I read through that is that they are very fatalistic, right? They're very absolute. They are all or nothing. They are the end all be all. There's no flexibility in those core beliefs. They get applied to every single situation. They're very dichotomous type thinking, that black and white thinking, that all or nothing thinking. And remember, that all or nothing thinking, that dichotomous type thinking really gets us nowhere in life. And if you want to go back and listen, it's episode 55. It is all about this, all about black and white dichotomous thinking. So go back and take a listen to that one. We end up applying these negative core beliefs to every single situation. Those negative core beliefs really act, I think of it like a filter. They act like a filter through which we see the world, how we view others, how we view ourselves. And through this filter, reality is really skewed. It's a very cloudy filter. So reality is skewed. We never get to rest in authenticity. We never can experience that relief that comes from living in authenticity of who we are or in reality. These beliefs do not vary. These core negative beliefs do not vary based on specific situations. They are not flexible, right? And we want that flexibility within our thinking. But instead, these core beliefs, this system, we use it to filter through every single situation that we are in, versus thinking in ways that are just based on specific situations without a filter. So anyway, we apply them across the board. This is really unhelpful for living the life that many of us dream of, because if we are always seeing things through this cloudy filter, we never get to see what is also there, right? The positive, the good, the beauty, the joy, your goals realized, because both are actually there. The good and the beauty and the difficult and the tragedy, both are there. But if you see things only through your filter of your negative core belief that you have not challenged yet, you cannot get to that other part of life. So uncovering your negative core belief, also called core fears, can get you started on the process of moving through them and then beyond them into a life of more flexible thinking, which leads to more positive emotions, which drives more of the behaviors you actually want to be performing in your everyday life. So when my habit thought pops up, like it's so hard, or it's such a hard day, or it's going to be such a hard day, I have practiced enough to where I mostly notice the thought and just stay in neutrality around it, right? No drama around that thought. So I don't try to ignore that thought or push it away or put it away or get upset it's still popping up for me. I just notice it. I allow it. And then I have a conversation with myself. Maybe something that goes like, it's not that it's actually a hard day. It's just that your brain is fearful of all the things. You're just a little nervous. You're scared. You have things going on today that don't feel that great, and that's okay. That conversation with myself, that type of conversation, gives me a little sense of peace and feeling like, okay, this is at least manageable. If I'm, if I keep thinking this is so hard and there's so many things and it's so hard and blah, 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 I'm not tired during the day or at the end of the day because of the things I'm doing. I'm tired due to all the thoughts. My thinking makes me exhausted, not what I'm actually doing during the day. I really, a long time ago, decided I want to be tired at the end of the day from giving it my all, not from the beat down, and the way my brain is throwing these negative thoughts about me, about those around me, about my world all day long. I don't want to be tired from that. If I'm going to be tired, I want to be tired because I gave that day my all, right? And for all of you listening to this for weight loss, or if you're working on stopping emotional or stress eating or drinking, or if you're just really here trying to gain a healthier relationship with food, then really listen here. The way I think throughout my day, the way you think throughout your day absolutely has an effect on what you are going to eat, what you are going to drink. And I would also bet that if you have another vice, if you will, like shopping, gambling, porn, whatever it may be, and you're really trying to disengage from those behaviors, then it's going to be really, really difficult to do that if your thought world is based out of those negative core fears or negative core beliefs all day long, because you're going to be exhausted from your thinking. And we definitely go to our places of comfort for the moment, even if that turns into this whole cycle of shame and negative behaviors because, oh, now we've done it. I did it again, so might as well give up, or, whatever the thing is. So understanding that our thinking is what really does play into our behavior world, and our choices in our behaviors is really, really, really important. Okay, discover those core beliefs, work through them to start to shift them. This is going to start to shift those unhelpful thoughts from playing out in the background of your mind all day, which create feelings of defeat, the shame, the unwillingness, which then lead you to behave in the exact ways you really don't want to be behaving. When you do the work to shift into a new core belief about yourself, and you start to filter your world through that new core belief about yourself, and you start to filter and so your everyday thoughts then start to shift about you, about your world, about others you love. And this creates more feelings of compassion, of willingness, of commitment, sometimes even excitement, but also mostly peace. And when we have these feelings, when we experience more of these feelings throughout the day, it is so much easier to behave in the ways we want to be behaving in, to take action on the things we want to take action on, to follow through on what we say we want to do. I always try to put this in there. This is not about feeling positive feelings. This is not about affirmations. If you have a negative core belief that you're not enough, or, everyone is bad in the world, or fear, You can do as many affirmations. I am good enough. I am strong enough. I am liked, whatever the thing is, from the Saturday Night Live skit. You can do as many of those as you want. It's not going to change a thing, right? Positive affirmations work, but research studies show us they only work for people who already have pretty high self-esteem. So if you have pretty high self-confidence, pretty high self-esteem, by the way, those are two different things. I'm just using them a little interchangeably here. If you have high self-esteem, affirmations are going to work, right? They're going to move you forward, if you will, even more. But positive affirmations do not work if you have those negative core beliefs about yourself. You can try doing those things and you're just going to get pissed off because eventually your brain is going to, this is not true. Why are you saying these things? We almost rebel against our own affirmation if we don't have that core belief already in place, positive core beliefs. So this is not about affirmations. This is not about always feeling positive feelings. We want to feel and process all of our feelings. If we get to a space of a new core belief about ourselves, we will still feel sadness, grief, anger. All feelings are good and valid, and we want to experience them all. But if we can get rid of, or if we can feel the feelings less often of defeat, of shame, of unwillingness, then we create freedom. And through this, we move, we rise, we live the life we are made to live. Remember, if you decide to do this work and need support through it, for example, if you've experienced trauma in the past, please seek out a licensed mental health professional who can partner with you to move you through these things. Sometimes this work can bring up really difficult things. And, if it does for you, then it's really important to seek help if you need it. Okay, that is all for today. I hope you found something useful. And as always, please pass the episode along to someone you feel might benefit. Thank you for listening, and we will talk soon. Just a reminder that this podcast represents my own opinions. The content here should not be taken as medical advice. The content here is for educational and informational purposes only. Please consult your doctor or healthcare professional for any individual medical questions you may have.